Hello, my name's Dude Fish. I'm sitting here with Zed.
And this is Zed and Dude Fish presents Survivor Podcast, where we talk about everything Survivor.
The Zed and Dude Fish Survivor Podcast.
All right, and we're going to be talking about things about today's the first episode of the new season of Survivor, Survivor 33, Fiji. That's the Generation X versus the Millennials, or it should be the other way around, Millennials versus Generation X. After all, the Generation X are the big boss, the big bad guys, and Millennials are facing off against them.
I kind of take offense to that already. Now you're saying we're the big bad guys, the Gen X. I'm a Gen X.
You're the mountain that the Millennials have to climb right now.
I'm a Gen X for those of you that don't know, and Zed is one of those young upstart millennials.
I'm on the cusp, right between.
You weren't offended by my comment, young upstart? I thought you were going to comment on that.
I'd like to be a young upstart.
Oh, good.
I like the word young. I like the word upstart.
Well, congratulations, then. We're on the same page.
Okay.
Okay, so right now we watched the episode together, and I'm going to say up front, I was disappointed that there wasn't much of a challenge. They were just delivered to a beach by what looked like inflatable boats. What did you think about that?
Oh yeah, let's talk about the evolution of the show. Like when it first began, it was talked about as being very much man or woman or person against the elements, and there was that aspect of the show is very pronounced, and you can see from
hence the name even Survivor,
right? Where the name Survivor would kind of allude to that. So, but instead, over time, the show has sort of evolved and is starting to show a little bit more about people's strategy versus just trying to show people having a hard time against the elements. Even though in this show we got to see some real hardcore elements, didn't we?
Oh, that's true. The typhoon.
The cyclone.
The cyclone.
Yeah,
cyclone. I said typhoon. What is it? What is the difference? A cyclone?
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to look that up.
When
so
Jeff
cyclone
sounds bad. So.
I like that. I like because it kind of has the psycho in the cyclone. But so they were delivered to the beach in inflatable boats, and then the first challenge was for them to run around and get supplies for their first couple days. I have seen that in the more recent Survivors. But I remember in the first seasons, they were given very little to eat or very little. Remember, it was just rice at one point, wasn't it? For the first couple of days, rice?
It seemed like
and water, fresh water.
In the early days, rice was pretty much the only things that survivors were given. They were given rice, or maybe some locations didn't have rice. They had like beans or something, like nut or something. But yeah, definitely. I think it's mostly because they're taking out the reward challenges. There aren't reward challenges. The shows have been cut down to just one challenge a show. It used to be 2 challenges a show, and one of the challenges was 4 rewards. And now they've taken out that part of the show. They do usually add a reward to the immunity challenge. Mm-hmm. Like for example, they got fire, what they call flint, and the winners got flint at the end of the immunity challenge.
And then, interestingly enough, I have to say, in this show, the gentleman on the that was on the Millennial tribe that created fire, it was kind of cute that he surprised himself.
Yeah, Zeke.
Yeah, he was kind of cool.
There,
I like
right?
the guy, and I have to admit, when we initially saw everybody, I didn't think that he would do well, and now he feels that he's the leader of the Millennials. He actually came out and said that he was the leader of them.
Yeah, I'd love to get into the cast, but not quite yet. I do want to come back to that food. We were talking about the food and how the survivors went out and got their whatever chickens. Some people got chickens. The Millennials chose the chickens, and the Gen X chose the fishing gear. Which one do you think will benefit them in the long run the most?
I am a water person, and I feel that I could do well fishing, but I know that sometimes is not always the case. I know that sometimes it's very hard to pull fish out. Do you remember who was the one gentleman in one of the older survivors there that just did really well in the water? Can you think of his name?
We've had a
very popular guy.
We've had a few people. Was it the guy with the long hair?
Yeah. It was a long, but I can't think of his name.
Fabio or something.
No. But this guy was something else. I mean, he could just pull fish out of the water at an unbelievable rate. I mean, he fed his tribe, and he actually did pretty well. I think they eventually got rid of him because he did so well. But the food, the actual food itself, wasn't. It seemed like a lot of food.
Mm-hmm.
And I was almost going to make a comment about it looked like they were going to the grocery store.
Yeah?
What did you think?
I thought it was an interesting twist that the two tribes had to decide between two different types of items. I felt like they could have focused a little bit more on what the items were and what they were choosing and what they were giving up. But they only really focused on the fact that one group was getting chickens and one group was getting fishing gear. And you're right. Usually in Survivor, there's either a group that has that one person who can go underwater for a long amount of time and can spearfish really well, or sometimes you don't get that person on your tribe. And
right.
The fishing gear just ends up doing nothing, just rusting away on the beach. So which one is better, the chickens or the fishing gear? I mean, you've got the chickens who can lay eggs after a while, hopefully.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that. What do you know about that? It just doesn't seem to me like it's practical. I can't imagine fighting 10 people for an egg.
I was thinking that chickens provide good company too. I mean, a chicken can kind of
pet chicken.
Yeah, I'm going back a season
to last season with Ty.
Right, chicken.
Do you remember the chicken's name? He had a name.
Yeah,
he actually had a name.
What's its name?
I can't think of his name. But yeah, it was unbelievable that the chicken survived through a whole season. That people respected Ty and his attachment to the chicken enough that they would not kill it.
Yeah, they did respect that.
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
Do you think this chicken will survive on this show?
I do not. I think that chicken is practically cooked up and going to be made into some type of soup, or I hope they don't fry it. I don't know what they're going to do with it. What do you think?
Do you think that the people on this show watched the season prior to this one?
I think they do, but that's my question about the chicken is I don't know about chickens, so I don't know eggs that they produce. I do not think that they would produce eggs at any rate that would be able to satisfy the numbers. Mm-hmm. So I think that your chicken then would become a food source, a source of protein. And to
company.
Me, yeah, well, not company. For me, it would be food. Yeah, we'd definitely have problems between the two of us because I'd be eating it. In 5 days, I think I'd be eating chicken.
Oh, I would be eating it too. I definitely would want to eat that chicken.
Well, would you give it a name first and make it a pet and then eat it?
I would not make it
a pet. Little awkward.
No. I was just wondering because if those survivors had seen this last season with Ty and his chicken, mm-hmm. maybe they'd make a reference. Maybe you would see them actually naming it. I think that the season was filming perhaps while the last season was showing, maybe, so they didn't get to see it. I was hoping to get some Thai references in there, but we didn't get to see that at all. Anyways, we're going to move on to Jeff Probst. We're going to talk about Jeff Probst. We didn't get to see him very much in this episode, did we?
Well, he did his interview on the beach and explained the rules. First broke down the tribes. One of the things that we didn't talk about was we noticed that, and this might be actual Survivor thing that I just never was aware of, that they didn't know that this was going to be broken down into millennials and Gen X's until they were actually on the beach. They separated into their tribes on the beach there, and I guess I was not surprised so much to see, but it heartened maybe that they immediately started to defend their tribes and the way that they were split up. They immediately started to, we're millennials and this is how we react to things, and we're Gen X's and this is how we react to things. You're millennials, this is how you react to things, and you're Gen X's, this is how you react to things. And what do you think about that?
Of course, when you break people into teams, they're going to want to cultivate a good team spirit, and that means saying good things about yourselves. It'll be interesting to see if the show continues or how long it continues down this line before you maybe have a tribe swap or maybe even an early merge, perhaps.
Right.
or merge and then they break up and then they merge again. You never know what's going to happen on Survivor with all the twists and
Which
turns.
I have to tell you, I like that about this new type of Survivor. Is it makes it a little more interesting.
I did feel that the millennials kind of surprised me by not taking both shortcuts. Because I think when I watched that, I thought, oh, the Gen Xers are the hard workers. They're going to be like, no shortcuts for us. We're just going to plow through this thing. We can do it. And I thought the millennials would be like, oh, do the shortcut. Let's just do things quickly. But I think it kind of defied my expectations that it was actually the Gen Xers who seemed to be a little bit lazy, kind of like taking shortcuts, kind of like saying, okay, we're going to sacrifice our long term for a short term, which is not something you'd expect from a Gen Xer who thinks you got to work hard, putting the hours first before you reap the rewards.
Mm-hmm.
So they could have had a reward of a 50-piece puzzle if they had worked harder before.
Right. And then do you think that it was unfair making the challenge physical, which I think the millennials were going to be better at? Jeff Probst happened to mention body types, and that if you were smaller, that maybe you would have been able to be quicker in the physical part of it. But then the mental part of it went to games, and I think when I think of millennials, I think of them as gaming. You know, that they using a lot of strategy, and the puzzle was complicated. It was a big puzzle.
It was a big puzzle, yeah.
Yeah.
And it looked like it would be a lot more difficult if there were more pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those pieces were really small.
Right. Again, we don't know exactly how long. They don't have a time clock on there that shows us how long time lapse.
No, everything's just cut to look seamless, cut to look as close as possible.
I wonder how long it took.
But it didn't actually look that close, did it, in the end?
No. It looked like they whomped them. They did it.
And they whomped them on the puzzle. And guess why? It's probably because they didn't take the shortcut. What I find with a lot of the Survivor challenges is they're usually lost in one on the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
It's really surprising to see how many times one team just completely whiffs on the puzzle and just ends up costing them a big lead, and the other team just totally catches up and wins because of that.
Right.
And puzzles seem to be really momentum-based. Once you start clicking, then you start figuring it out, then you've got that momentum, and you usually get through the puzzle really quickly once you got that momentum. It just seemed like Gen X didn't get that momentum going into the puzzle. They got stuck. They had to switch in people, and then they really just put all the blame on the one girl, Rachel, who we know now got voted off. Just dumped on her. It was all her fault that that puzzle didn't get done. Again, I don't know, because they didn't show every part of that, how bad she really was at it, or good. We don't know. So can we blame her being voted off for her performance on the puzzle, or do you think it's perhaps lies on the fact that she volunteered to play on the puzzle in that situation?
Yeah, some people put themselves out there, and then if they don't if they don't perform, then there's disappointment. I get what you're saying, and yeah, I agree. Maybe that is what drew their attention to her is a person to vote. What was the other gentleman's name? Dave.
Dave, yeah.
And Cece. I was surprised. I didn't hear anybody. Did I miss that? Did people say that they were going to vote for Cece? And
yeah, I think we got to see Rachel talking with Cece, so you saw that they were a pair.
Okay.
So I think rather than voting out Dave, who wasn't paired up with anybody, they said Rachel's more of a threat because she's got Cece.
Sorry. When you mentioned Dave, I am happy that they saved Dave. I want Dave on the show. I think he's going to entertain us. If anybody's listening to this and has any control in the world, I want Dave to stay through the whole show. I find it very entertaining.
Yeah. Would you say he has a chance to win it, though?
No. A chance at entertaining me once a week is what we're going for. No. Dave can write. He actually already wrote off the million. Mm-hmm. Dave was one of the first people on Survivor that I've ever seen. During his first interview, I think he said, "I'm not going to win. I'm not going to win." And he was even talking like he was being voted off. His first interview. That was kind of.
But he's a character. Like, you'll get people who want to quit, or they just think they have no chance, and they just start quitting. He doesn't think he has that great of a chance, but he's still loving the experience. And I think that's one of the things I picked up about this his character is that he's just enjoying it so much, and he doesn't want to go. He tells you he doesn't want to go.
But I did not get that he enjoyed it. I actually saw that he was somebody that absolutely hated it. That he hated the experience. He hated the experience of a building, remember, and they commented on that he wasn't very useful. The fact that he flinched at the noise that was made by the what's the big knife? The
machete.
The machete.
Yeah.
And he was flinching and he was putting his finger in his shirt. See, I want him to stay. Please stay, David. Don't vote David off. Please don't vote him off.
He's definitely seems to be having a bit of a harder time than most survivors would be on the show. But also, at the end of the day, his demeanor is just, it's a positive demeanor. You get the feeling that the way he says he hates these things, but you know he's loving it. You know he wants to stick around. He wants to be on the show. He's looking for an idol. I mean, what does that say about somebody?
Right.
He wants to be there.
I'll give you that. He did. Well, how about the fact that he started pointing out that other people were looking for the idol? Yeah, and he was he was drawing attention to himself, and actually, the way that the words that he was using, it didn't seem as though he was trying to endear himself onto anybody. It seemed like he was actually talking as though he was separate, even at that point. And this man's doing this, and that man's doing this, and we better
look over there. They're looking for an idol. We better check their pants when they come back.
Look at the way he's holding his hand. He's holding his hand. Look at the way he's holding. I think he has an idol. He's holding his hand over and over again.
And then he goes off and looks for an idol himself.
Yeah, we got to keep Dave. We need Dave. Now let's go back to I was disappointed. Now they get the food. Everybody puts the food on their mat, and then now they go to their camp. And it looked to me like it was a stroll in the park. Now, I don't know if you remember, but there was one season that they did Survivor at the Mayan ruins. They made those survivors trek through the jungle. They were dead by the time they got to their camp. I don't know if they had food with them. I know that they were sweaty, cut up, bug-bitten messes by the time. There's been survivors where they've made them swim for the food and swim for their beaches, and this one here, it looked like they strolled.
Yeah, they gave them a tarp. And first, when we saw them getting a tarp, and it was the first time anyone got a tarp for free, it really kind of looked like survivors starting to go a little bit easy on these guys.
Right, and I heard somebody complaining that one of the mangoes had a bruise on it. This mango is bruised.
Poor bruised mango. That's not going to taste so good, is it?
No. I wouldn't eat it. But
do you think that's perhaps a reaction to the last season, where we had a season with perhaps the most evacuations we've had of all Survivor seasons, including one very crazy situation where one of the contestants had to be medevaced on a helicopter. He was not responsive at all. I think it was Caleb who had to be evacuated like that, and it was people were starting to say, "Wow, this is really serious." And,
right.
I mean, the conditions that people have to go through in Survivor sometimes are a lot worse than what us sitting on our sofas, having air conditioner, and we don't realize how difficult it is. At least I knew how difficult it is to sit through a night while it's raining without having proper shelter over your head to keep you dry. It's absolutely horrible. It feels like every minute feels like an hour almost. You're just like sitting there shivering.
Intense.
It's just a horrible feeling by the time morning comes.
So then you had made the comment before we started this that you felt that they were focusing more on the mental aspects of the game, and then the question comes in the name Survivor now, instead of surviving the elements of a particular spot, are they surviving themselves? Is that what the Survivor, now it's just about surviving the people more than it's about surviving the elements and the people?
I kind of feel like Survivor was just a really good name, just a catchy name, and it did portray some of the show, but I think that's why you also have the subtitle or the three things: outwit, outlast, outplay. Those also explain the game that perhaps more fittingly than just the word survivor. But yeah, they are kind of surviving each other. I mean, they're voting each other out, so it's kind of like they're actually taking each other out. So they're kind of like killers instead of survivors. Or who's the killer? Who's a survivor?
Kind of the predator and the prey.
Yeah, predator and prey. So we're going to move on to the Triforce. Remember the Triforce?
Oh, I'm glad you're hitting on it because we talked about the X, and now let's go to the Millennials. Yeah, the Millennials were kind of funny. Okay, so I'm an X, if anybody remembers from the beginning of this, and I'm 53, so I'm 1 year older than the oldest survivor in Gen X. And I got a kick out of how the Millennials kind of handled the whole thing. A lot of them were very concerned about hooking up, about relationships with the boys and the girls. I would be out there for the $1 million. And I guess I wouldn't be so concerned about the hookup. But that's nice. If you get the $1 million and the hookup, I guess that would be like a double reward. If they would throw in a free car, too, that would kind of be nice. I was interested to see how they handled the building of the shelter and their swim party.
Wasn't that ridiculous?
Yeah, the swim party was great.
We have no shelter. Let's go swimming. When we come back, we can do it later.
According, now we don't know because we thought maybe they might have used a filter over the lens. But according to what we saw on in the show on the camera was that it got dark while they were still away from camp. And returned kind of at dusk, at almost dark, before they got back to their shelter. And immediately the storm blew in.
Yeah.
Well, I think they were in the water still when we heard the first lightning. Again, not sure if that was editing. But the storm came on them pretty fast. Everybody sniveled. I kind of liked that.
So is it unusual to see that the millennial group has really kind of broken up into different groups already? It's kind of fractured. We got our cool kids.
What is it called?
Triforce.
The Triforce, and then apparently, if you hold two people hold their thumb and their index finger out, you can make but you can't use a third person. They're going to have to work that out.
The Triforce.
Maybe if they joined arms, they could make a triangle using their arms instead of using their fingers.
They definitely need some better gesture to represent
the Triforce.
Their alliance. How long do you think the Triforce alliance is going to work out? Because at the end, when they're showing the preview for the next show,
there's a hookup going on. But the one gentleman with the good hair.
Yeah,
he was mentioned that he had that he liked
Mr.
the one gentleman because he liked his crazy hair. It says wacky hair. I'm not sure, but anyways, he was a little offended that the other two were kind of getting a little. Yeah,
he's probably getting left out a bit. Yeah, he's like, dude, we were bros before.
the Triforce may be in for an early ending. And then what are we going to call that now? It'd be like a double force. I'm not sure. They could make a triangle because it's only two of them. But I'm not sure what's going to happen. But I'm hoping it's entertaining. That's all I got to say about that. I'm hoping it's entertaining. And anybody else, though, in the Millennials that kind of stood out to you?
I definitely like the geeks.
Me too. I said that. Yeah.
You got the freaks, kind of like geeks character, and then you got the Zeeks, right? So I guess you and I can both say that Zeke stood out. He had a moment in the show.
Oh, I like Zeke. Yeah. He's one of my favorite characters right now.
He probably was the first character to actually sort of cry. It looked like he was crying.
Look it out. I tell you right now, I missed that. Now,
he was teary-eyed after the fire. He looked like he was teary-eyed. Maybe that was just the smoke in his eyes. I don't know. But in his testimonial, he looked a little bit red-eyed.
Oh. See, and here's my impression of him. I think that you could actually be looking at the winner of this season.
You think so?
Yeah, I was kind of impressed by him.
Is that your pick?
One thing, though, that could go against him is he named himself, and we know this is traditionally in Survivor a bad thing. He named himself as the leader of the tribe. In these early stages, somebody comes out, they name themselves the leader of the tribe. Generally, they're voted out pretty quick after that. I wouldn't go around telling people that, for one thing. The one thing, though, is surely the kiss of death. If you name yourself the leader of the tribe and then state clearly, they vote the way I tell them, you're almost going to be voted out next tribal meeting.
It's really interesting to look at group dynamics when it comes to the leader. I felt like Zeke's ascension to leadership was really organic. It was just kind of like it just kind of happened. He's kind of like he's a little bit more mature than the others.
I think so too. Yeah.
He's a little bit more of a go-getter, it seemed. Whereas some of the younger ones on that tribe were just kind of like,
he's a New Yorker. I think Zeke's a New Yorker, right? I think he mentioned that he was from Brooklyn.
I don't remember that.
I think he's a New Yorker, and I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. And I think that you grow up in a city, you grow up in Brooklyn, and you learn to deal with people, those groups of people in that environment, and maybe that'll help him out.
Mm-hmm. I think when you have a leader who states plainly, openly to their group and starts doling out orders, that's usually when you start rubbing people the wrong way.
The kiss of death.
Yeah.
But like I said, I like it when somebody comes out and they vote the way I tell them to vote. Then you know that guy's gone. Everybody's going, no way. They just will not tolerate that.
So we're going back. We're talking about leaders and just going back in general. Who are some of the survivors that you have felt you've related to the most?
In the past?
In history, in the past.
In the past, well, Boston Rob.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I think that he's like me, but the fact that he kind of played an open game with the camera. Mm-hmm. He played a closed game with the other players.
Very entertaining.
Yeah, and he was always entertaining. The fact that though he kind of, as he laid out his plan and then he followed through, you kind of knew that he knew what he was doing. He acted on it. He told the camera, this is what I'm going to do. It happened. And
he really brought us along for the ride.
It really was, and it was amazing because I think early on we all kind of knew that he was going to walk at that one point with $1 million.
Okay.
Now,
after Rob, who else might you think of?
Oh, well, now I can't remember all the names. I'll tell you the one that I hated the most early on was certainly Richard Hatch. And it had nothing to do with him walking around naked for his birthday, but he was just not a nice guy. And every time you saw him in an interview afterwards, he kind of just was not that nice of a guy. There was that girl, and again, I don't know her name, but she made the rat and the snake comment in the first season. And then you go to the second season. I think that was Australia. Don't quote me on this. But there was a few people in there that I liked. There was the gentleman that burned himself and had to be removed from the game. And I kind of liked him. The girl that won that season, I did not. No, I'm sorry. She didn't win, but she was a villain towards the end there. And there was some people there that I didn't like. I can't remember the name of the gentleman that had the option to win, and what's her name gave him a motorcycle afterwards. But that was Australia. And then I kind of fell off for a while, and I can't really name a whole lot of specifics. But more recently, we talked about this earlier. Recently? I like Ty.
You like Ty a lot?
I did. I like Ty, and you said he kind of bothered you a little bit because
he started rubbing me the wrong way halfway through the season for me.
Oh, halfway.
Yeah.
So he was hooked up with some pretty rough characters last season.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason.
The guy that was a bounty hunter.
Yeah, bounty hunter.
Oof. I think the guy scared me, honestly. He makes me want to be honest in my life. I never want to meet him in a bounty hunting situation.
Yeah,
that guy was tough. Oh, and the basketball player, right?
Yeah,
the big giant guy.
Player, yeah.
And he was kind of
what an odd alliance that they had for a while there, didn't they?
Oh yeah.
I think you got to see the dark side of Ty because of that. Because they were an influence on him.
Yeah, they were using Ty the whole time. And didn't Ty at one point have 2 idols?
Yeah.
Oh, Ty. But and they were sure that Ty was going to do anything they said. They get up there. The man stands up and says, Ty, play your idol for me. And Ty looked at him and he said no.
One
And we thought he was going to kill him.
Survivor moments ever.
Honestly. And I thought that they were going to kill Ty right there on the camera. I thought we were going to see our first survivor murder. But it didn't happen, thank God, because I like Ty.
Yeah.
And I thought so for sure, though. Somebody was dead.
Ah, yeah.
But, and then the chicken, Ty's pet chicken. And you'd asked earlier, I'm not sure, did we talk about the pet chicken? Was the chicken going to become a pet or was it going to become food?
Oh, yeah, this season, yeah.
I think food.
Okay, well, I'm going to talk a little bit about the survivors that I kind of related to. If we go back in time, I will go like season 4, I think. Amazon. You watch Amazon?
Refresh my memory.
Amazon had a pretty good cast, a really good cast. And
now, whereabouts did that fall? Was that early on? Was it like 1, 2, 3, 4, or was it later on in the...
It was number 4.
We're up to that 33 now. Can you imagine 33 survivors?
Season 4 or 5 in Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a fellow called Mateo. Now, Mateo was, he wasn't really the kind of type of person who was forming great relationships with the group. In fact, he was a little bit standoffish. That to the point where some of his tribe mates started to fear him, thinking he was a little bit psycho, a little bit crazy. Because he would sit down and he would sharpen the machete, like just constantly sharpen the machete. And you hear like, and he was totally on the outs. He was totally on the outs, and they wanted him out so bad.
But they feared him physically, that he was going to physically.
But this man won challenge after challenge after challenge. I remember there was one challenge where he had to do the bow and arrow, and he was just like. Dead good on the name. It's like, this guy is crazy.
So they kept him to help him and feared him.
No, this was after the merge. It was after the merge. They couldn't get him out after the merge because he was winning individual immunities. But eventually he got to the final 2, and he didn't win because they didn't like him. So that it was basically the person who chose him to go with them to the final 2. Easy case to be made for that person.
Back when they had the old final 2 instead of the final 3.
Yeah, back in the final 2. After that, I think it's around the middle seasons or early 10s, and there was a young gentleman named Ian. Mm-hmm. He was a really tall guy, and he was a really good swimmer because he's like a dolphin trainer. And it was the same season where they had Tom. Tom was this firefighter dude, and he was so good at the challenges, and he was just owning everything. No one could beat him. And the last challenge, the last immunity challenge, was just standing on a buoy. There was nothing difficult about it. It was just standing.
Endurance.
It was hardly endurance. It's just standing. So it's not like you're even in a difficult position. They didn't ramp up the difficulty. They didn't give you less space to stand on. You had enough space to stand on. It was just about who's going to jump in the water first. And it was crazy because Ian was in a really good position. And if he'd gone to the final 2 with the third person, he probably could have won. But at one point, he says to his competitor, Tom, I'm just gonna jump in. I guess he thought Tom deserved it more. I don't know, sense of honor to compel him to jump in. Did he just think, well, I don't deserve it as much as Tom does, so I'm just gonna let Tom win? Because it really seemed like he could have stood there a lot longer than he actually did. So yeah, that season.
Well, I have to tell you, the one I'm going to look for is the Mateo, because now you got me interested. I'm going to go back and look for that.
I'm actually friends with Mateo on Facebook.
Get out of town.
Yeah, actually.
Do you fear him?
I don't fear him.
Okay.
No. This guy, right now he's an endurance runner. He goes all around the world doing endurance runs. Last time I think I saw his.
Did you ever actually talk to him or message him?
When I added him as a friend, I said, "I'm a fan of yours. I thought you were a great character in the show." And then he replied to me and he said thanks, and he added me as a friend.
Very nice, very nice.
So yeah, we got Mateo, we got Ian, and recently, if you had to go recently, I'd say Spencer. Poor Spencer. This guy worked so hard.
Oh, Spencer. Okay, I know who Spencer is.
Spencer, but he's just not likable enough. People just don't like him enough.
Yeah, I know Spencer. What was the show though? What was name of the show?
It was season 31, I think, or season 30. It was a season with returnees. I think, yeah.
Spencer. Was he like? It was one of those shows where he was on the Brains team, Brains versus
Yeah.
Brawn, and he was a Brain. This is the gentleman with
Yeah.
glasses? He had glasses?
Yeah, I think it might have been that.
Yeah, okay. So he
didn't have glasses, though.
You would
He wasn't-
no, maybe
he
we
didn't
have the
wear
wrong guy
glasses,
then.
no.
Because the guy I'm thinking on was on a Brain team, and he had glasses and was kind of diabolical, almost James Bond diabolical. I was kind of impressed with this guy.
Was he one of the winners? Did he win?
He went all the way, and I think he's already been on 2 because he was a fan favorite, or maybe a fan villain favorite.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't think of his.
He did win his second season.
Get out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he came back. He won it the second time around.
Oh, can I ask you a question about that?
Sure.
There's the we're in the middle of the election in the U.S. and they talk about not voting for a candidate as much as voting to deny a candidate the presidency. Did you ever feel that way, that you didn't care who got the million, you just were more sure who you didn't want to see get the million? What do you think is a stronger feeling for you?
Stronger feeling for me, I think, would be, well, I don't like to hold grudges, but to be honest, if someone did stab me in the back, it would be hard for me to let it go. But I think if I was given at least a week, I could let it go. Mm-hmm. But if I was stabbed in the back just 3 days before tribal council,
right.
I would.
Which has happened. We've seen that happen a lot of times. And speaking of that, as these numbers dwindle down, and now I know these people are deprived of sleep and shelter and food and the companionship of the people that they love at home and the different things that can affect you. But as the numbers start to dwindle down, that they have to realize that they're going to start to turn on each other. And then it always seems like everybody's always surprised when that happens. I mean, year after year after year, survivor after survivor, how dare you? Well, there was 4 of us. There could only be 3. We had to turn on somebody. But you said you would, and oh my goodness, it gets to be quite the drama. That's one of the reasons why I like the show, I have to tell you, because of that final...
Yeah, the final tribal council.
The final 4 episodes, 5 episodes, when it starts to get really... really intense. Mm-hmm. Back now to the one that the first episode that we just watched. I wanted to talk about the way that they edited or filmed the 2 tribes. I have to kind of get the impression, but I have to say it seemed like they kind of played to those stereotypes. Did you get that? Like they wanted to show the millennials as kind of being these people that were, as the one millennial even described it, we aren't going to wait, so we're going to make things happen for ourselves in a shorter period of time. We're going to stay positive and make these things happen. It just seemed like they played to the stereotypes.
Sure, those themes are present in the first show. Mm-hmm. You're going to see perhaps a few more things like that crop up in the future. Mm-hmm. We did talk about how in the challenge, I thought that the Xers kind of defied that.
Right. And that was some good points, by the way. And I didn't think that way while I was watching it, but you opened my eyes to that. And I agree with you. Good observation.
And going back to the challenge, let's talk about the idol. I mean, doesn't that idol look sweet? That's probably my favorite idol of all time.
I'm going to have to go back and look at idols now, so you're going to make me Google it.
Yes, it looks like a little tiki god thing. I mean, just like...
Speaking of, now they're in Fiji.
Yeah.
And if I'm picturing Fiji, we're down below, in between Africa and Australia. Where is Fiji? The tip of Africa and Australia? It's down below India? Where are we?
Fiji is...
Are we over in the Pacific?
Is Fiji in the Indian Ocean? I think so.
Okay, that's what I just named. Basically, was the Indian Ocean, and so why do I think it's over in the Pacific for some strange reason? Okay, because I'm over in Hawaii and that neighborhood, and I thought that it might be over there. I'm going to have to Google that.
I'm going to have to Google it myself to be sure.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Anyways, as we're slowly wrapping up this first ever podcast for both of us, by the way, So we're just completely new. We're hacks at this, but we're trying our best to provide something interesting and entertaining for you to listen to. Let's wrap it up by just telling me, out of 10, how entertaining was this premiere to you? Do you rate it as a 10, like that was a fantastic bit of TV, or do you rate it a little bit medium?
Okay, now I'm going to compare it against TV today. What we have, what the offerings that are on TV and on the internet. I do a lot of internet myself. I watch the internet now. I don't even have cable in my house.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I don't even understand why you would have cable in your house if you have internet. But anyways, I digress. What the offerings are, I'm going to say it's a solid 8 or 9. I like Survivor. Yeah. I do. I like all the notes that it hits. I like the psychological aspect of it and that social experiment that it is. And it's always fun to speculate. The one thing I have to tell you, I have a problem. And that is what my sister-in-law years ago termed as clever editing. So that, it's just so heavily edited that they don't, give you enough to always let you know, to be able to form your own opinions. Mm-hmm. And I think they kind of form your opinions for you too much sometimes. I wish they would give me a little bit, more open to form my own opinions, but they cleverly added out. And
maybe you'd like some kind of omnicam where you just like watch everything.
Do they have that? I thought that there was an aspect of that in their
that's
website.
A Big Brother thing. Do you watch Big Brother?
Where they had the 20. No,
they
no,
have all the cameras in the
not.
house 24/7. You
I
can
did
watch
not know.
everything.
No. But that's almost kind of creepy. It seems if you would watch that more than 5 hours a week, I would start to creep myself out.
I can see the necessity.
Notice I said 5 hours. I even put a time on
editing, and I kind of know that you have to put certain people in light and make them characters, and
right.
give them the chance to sort of
kind of take away that reality show that everybody questions.
Yeah, we have to be entertained. In this
where does the reality show start and end? Right.
I thought it was a little bit low on drama. I didn't get enough drama for my taste, at least. There was the paranoia. Dave's paranoia was kind of fun.
You know what interrupted it though?
Yeah.
You
just
cyclone.
Interrupted me.
Yeah, with the cyclone. But I think the cyclone might have messed that up. You don't?
It was an interesting part, but it was not providing any dramatic backdrop to certain people. I kind of felt like I would like to see a little bit more scrambling from Rachel. Mm-hmm. It almost seemed like she didn't think she was going, or not that much. At least.
I understand what you're saying. I agree. I agree. There wasn't enough drama created around that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And for me, I just kept going back to like what you told me before we even watched the show. You said, I think Jeff Probst, he doesn't even stay that close to the campsite. He probably stays at some fancy 5-star hotel, taking a helicopter there and back every day. But I thought every time I think of that, I'm being the show's not entertaining enough for me to think of the show, and I think of Jeff Probst sitting in his 5-star hotel room enjoying a pancake. Every time I think of that, I'm going to dock this episode 1 point. And I think throughout the whole episode, I probably went back to thinking about Jeff Probst and his pancakes probably about 4 times. So I'm going to give this one a 6 waffles out of 10 pancakes, just for that reason.
Well, can I ask you on that then? On that note, what would you rate the whole season? Last season
was a high for me. I really enjoyed last season. Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna score it 8 pancakes out of
that. That would be a decent number of pancakes, perhaps because. However, I'm going to dock it because I didn't like the fact that the jury was so bitter, and even though it was fun, but I felt like the real winner wasn't crowned the winner. I felt like that was a travesty for me. And I know a lot of people say, hey,
they mixed it up a lot. They changed those. How many times did they change up those before they had the final merge? I think they changed it up 3 times. Mm-hmm. Didn't they change it up 3 times? They went back and forth and forced those new numbers onto each other. It was at least 2.
I felt there was a sort of a narrative in that last season of kind of like Freaks and Geeks against the popular kids as well. There was a bit of almost like a time when there was bullying. Almost, I could see like this is the time when Survivor actually has bullies in the show, and it feels like you got two different clans.
Right. Well, people do like their villains.
Yeah.
Before we go, who's your favorite villain?
Who's my favorite villain? Has got to be. It has to be. What's his name?
I know. I'm thinking of the same guy, right? With the hat.
The fat guy with the. He was on the show like 3 times.
And his son came on the one.
Hance. Russell Hance.
Yes!
Russell Hance.
I wonder if he's everybody's favorite villain.
He's got to be.
Wow.
I mean, you can't get better than Russell
Scary
Hance.
dude. And you were talking about being fearful of what was his name again? The gentleman with the hatchet,
Machete. Mateo and his machete.
Yeah, Russell intimidates me, and he was a character on TV, and he intimidates me. So yeah. Okay, well that's good to know, and I think that's everything.
I think we need a little hashtag for this episode. I'm thinking Freaks, Geeks, and Zeeks.
I'm thinking, and we will clean it up if anybody's disappointed in the content. We're going to work at this, and hopefully we will come up with some interesting insight.
Yeah, please feel free to subscribe to the channel and come back for more. We'll be doing this every week. We're going to be putting the video up on either Saturday or Sunday, depending on where you are in the world.
Yeah, we're watching on Saturday in Thailand. So if you're in the West, it's your Friday morning. And the reason we're doing that is we both work, and this is the one day that we're able to get together. But Zed might be watching earlier, which is fine with me. But I'm going to watch and report on Saturdays, I promise. So thank you very much for your time.
It's really good, Dude Fish. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you. That was fun.
All right.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
The Zed and Dude Fish Survivor Podcast.